Welcome to this latest dev diary, where I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in the third phase of the Alpha. So here you see one of the stars of Alpha 3, one of the Coriolis space stations in the game. This one's Port Zalada. You see the entrance there, and as we fly in over the edge you can see some of the surface detail. So of course this whole station's rotating, giving it gravity. So at this surface the most desirable areas where you've got one gravity. You sort of see these almost inverted tower blocks. If you think of these as tower blocks that are upside down, where the bottom is sort of the best part, the penthouse if you like, going all the way through to the inside of the station. The inner part is rotating at the same speed, but because it's much narrower you get around 0.1 of a gravity, so it's much lower, so that's where all the ships go. The advantage of that 0.1 G area is that human can lift a ton weight. And that means they can manoeuvre cargo, manhandle it. I mean, not saying on a place like this it would be done automatically, but the beauty is, you see here this vast internal area, internal volume within the station where the ships land. It means if you drop something it doesn't fall quickly, but you still have the advantage of some gravity. That low level of gravity is really handy. Here you see the different landing pads. We can see an Anaconda, the relatively tiny footprint of a Sidewinder, and a Cobra in the distance. So what you can see here is the sort of the business end of the station. Outside this is a big open volume where there'll be lights, there'll be trees, open space, going down to the surface areas which will have trees and things like that, and possibly even bits of water where people would live within the station. Because I think in space people would value open space, could be so used to the cramped surroundings of a spaceship. So this has somewhat of an ambience, if you like, of an airport, and that is the point. That the starports, or orbital starports like this one, are where people come and go to planets. Obviously there will be smaller ships going between an orbital station like this and the surface, if there is sort of activity down the surface. Here we see the docking bay, the docking slot. So these are shields that are permanently active, that keep the air in the station. And as you move through it, you can hear the ambience of the sound change. In space, of course, there is no sound, and the sound that you do hear is generated by your ship, or are noises coming from inside the ship, which is pressurized. But once you go inside, you can hear the echoey noise of the starport. You can hear the echoes of your own engines. Of course, docking is another major element of Alpha 3, and so we'll just look at how that process works and the various things you need to do. So we see the big station ahead of us. We've got to select our contacts, our targets if you like, and then get permission from the station to dock. And they issue a landing bay number, and then we fly through the slot in traditional good old, right back from the first Elite style, getting your ship to spin to match the slots. Now these slots are quite large, and you can sort of certainly see that in Alpha 3. That's because they need to accommodate the biggest ships. So the biggest ships, like the Anaconda, and there are others as well that are bigger, are, if you think of the real world example, something called a Panamax ship. It's a ship that only just fits in the Panama Canal. That's because they're the maximum size. Some of the ships will be difficult to dock. You'll need docking aids to help you, whereas smaller ships like the Sidewinder and even the Cobra can be docked quite easily. You've got to put down your landing gear, obviously very, very important, and then approach the pad, as we see here. So you see the pad you've got selected, you slow down, approach it, and as you approach the pad, you'll see a new user interface come in the place of the scanner. You'll see there's the targeted area, and you see your ship hovering above it, and you've got to align the dot into the centre. You can also hear the interface noise as the dashes sort of get closer as you approach the spot. So once you're landed, you can select all sorts of services at the starport. The surface of the station is clearly where all the people will mill around, but down in here, this is the domain of machinery, where there would be no people. Because we're just thinking ahead to when you can get out of the spaceship. It's very important that you can have machinery deployed without killing people. So what we can do, look through here, looking at the different options for the different hard points. Here we see a Cobra. Looking through, you see some of the weapons seem very small given the size of the hard point, but you can fit a larger one here. That's because you might want it to be gimbal mounted, i.e. it will auto-aim, if you like, when you've targeted a ship. And that is a very powerful thing. We've already seen that in the alpha. People have already been playing it, and it's a very big positive. The other thing to note here about the Cobra is the cockpit. Look here, we've got 2 seats. Now, we're not using the second seat yet, but obviously you can see it, you can look across to it. But with time, we will use it. I mean, the question of crew and things like that for the future at the moment, but obviously exciting features of the game. Of course, once you've done all your things that you want to do, your outfitting or whatever, you can launch and fly out to the slot. And that just shows the other key part here of Alpha 3 is we actually have a game loop now, a proper game loop where you can earn money out, whether pirating, getting your bounties or whatever, and spend them on upgrades to your ship, and even upgrading your ship via this way, and then go out and carry on the experience. I think for me it's very, very exciting stage, the fact that we're now at Alpha 3, and it feels like the game is starting to really come together. Well, I hope you enjoy it as much as we have. That's the end of this dev diary. Thank you very much to all of the alpha backers, and of course as we move forward we're moving towards the premium beta and the beta, so we're all very excited here. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening.